Hey everyone, Blair Reynolds here with Jason Hull again. Jason Hull is the CEO of Balanced Edge and Practical Business Consulting. So he's somebody that you want to listen to because he takes all these people on wild adventures, he takes them into mountain peaks and high risk situations, and he helps them to understand who they are as people and become even better business people. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. And I wanted to talk to him about momentum in business because he comes from a lineage of effective and powerful entrepreneurs, and he's been able to instill that, obviously be able to receive from that, but be able to contribute into another generation of entrepreneurs as well. So Jason, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
you fascinated me because we were talking about your grandfather.
Right.
So if you wouldn't mind starting there, just what did your grandfather do, and then what does that teach you about momentum in business?
Well, my grandfather was, I was once asked,
Mm-hmm.
who would be your superhero kind of person, right? It was my grandfather. There was no question. And my grandfather, he was a man of carefully selected words. He knew that every word had meaning, value, and a purpose. And so he never wasted words, and that always made an impression on me. Words weren't just in this large commodity that you just spouted out, which is what a lot of people do nowadays. They use words they don't even understand.
Yeah.
And so he was very, very careful, very, very strategic as to what he would say, when he would say it, how he would say it, the inflections in his voice. It would really reflect his attitude. And he had a spirit of a lifelong learner. You know, not only was it a spirit of an entrepreneur, but of a lifelong learner, which I think goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it
right?
has to.
It has to.
Unless you're going to stop being a good entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because without curiosity, you're not an entrepreneur.
Absolutely not.
You know, you're just simply not. And so he had this curiosity all the way until he died at age 91. And he was just an incredible, incredible guy. It always impressed upon me when he was in his 80s. He would look at people in their 70s who would be, you know, with walkers and in pain and doing all that. And he'd go, wow, that person's old. Go, yeah, but grandpa, you know, how old are you? Well, yeah, but it's not the physical.
It's different.
It's what's in the mind. And until the day he died, he was young.
Yeah.
He really was. I mean, he had an aged body. He used his body. He treated it like a lot of cars that I drive. You know, I drive a car to, I drive it, right?
Yeah,
it's not there to look pretty. It's there to use. And he took every drop of juice out of life he could.
Yeah.
And I remember a month before he died, we were on a walk, and he was curious about all the little things, the flowers in bloom, this plant, that tree, you know, all the birds flying. And it was like walking with a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, just that level of intense curiosity. And that is what led him to his success through his life, was that curiosity. And not just curiosity, but it's one thing to go, wow, I wonder what that is. But he would pursue it.
Yeah.
He would find out. He would have the discipline to go after it. And he was a very, very disciplined person. He worked out every morning of his life. He'd wake up at 4:30 in the morning, work out, go to work. He had his routine, very disciplined, and he enjoyed life. He lived life.
And didn't he end up founding Chapman University or being a part of the founding?
It was actually his father, my great-grandfather,
Okay.
Charles C. Chapman, that founded Chapman University.
Oh wait, your great-grandfather founded?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's my
That's making
great-grandfather.
sense.
And then my grandfather, when my great-grandfather fell ill, my grandfather was in his early 20s, and he was asked onto the board of trustees, and he actually remained on that board until he died.
Great.
So at the time, when he was alive, he was the longest-serving board member of any university in the United States.
Really?
And he was the secretary on that board, I would believe, all but 2 years. And he would take meticulous notes.
Yeah.
Right? Because he was very disciplined.
Yeah.
And he did such an amazing job that to this day there's this incredible history of Chapman University that's intact because one person crafted it. It's just incredible. But yeah, it's a great example of vision. And my grandfather is just, he was an amazing man.
Well, let's talk about either him or
Sure.
your great-great-grandfather,
Sure.
or I guess it would be your great-grandfather, or any of your mentors. I want to know those few nuggets, those few pearls of wisdom that have been thrown your way that have allowed you to accomplish what you've accomplished.
Dr. Jim Doty, who's the current president at Chapman University and just an incredible visionary, I asked him once, I said, what is your secret? You know, we're at the crisis in the housing market, the economy is tanking, all these things are happening, and I look around Chapman and things are growing, you're building, you're expanding, and you're not just creating projects, you're actually funding projects before you're even building them. I mean, this is incredible given this economy. How do you do it? And he said, Jason, it's one thing. It's momentum.
Yeah, that's so good.
And you open this session with
Yeah.
momentum, and it's so true that if you're moving and you're going towards your goal, not away from your goal, you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And some days you're going to have more momentum, other days you're going to have less. But as long as you wake up in the morning and you make that choice of, today, I'm going to move forward.
Yeah.
And every day, no matter who you are, no matter how successful you are, you have to make the choice. Am I going to move forward or am I going to stand still? And that's really what it comes down to. And so that's his pearl of wisdom.
That's brilliant, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because a lot of us in our life, I think we feel like we don't have momentum, or something that happens very often is we will derail ourselves.
Right.
We'll start having momentum in one area or one thing, and then we'll sabotage or switch or whatever, and we've almost sacrificed so much of that momentum that's been happening.
Yeah.
But for one, I don't think we have to do that.
Right.
I think we can actually create the momentum. But the second thing is, like you did with your grandfather and your great-grandfather, we get to ride off the momentum of others.
Right.
So the closer we associate, the closer we become in a relationship with and learn from, we actually get to draft off of that momentum, was where it builds. So let's talk about you, because you work with a number of businesses and you partner with a number of them.
Yeah.
So I know that you're always consulting, you're always helping them in their processes.
Right.
What are those pearls of wisdom that you share with them?
Well, we go over the little things. It's the little things that matter. Like, no excuses. Don't make excuses. Own up to what you do. Take responsibility for what you do. The other is follow through. You know, and the other part of following through in momentum is if you procrastinate and too much time goes by, you've lost that momentum. If you follow through and you have a speed of implementation that's quick, right, and you're decisive, that's huge. It's game changing. The most successful people make a decision quickly. They don't agonize over it. They'll get the information they need, and so that way they're not making an uneducated or rash decision. But once they have that information, they have all the facts, they make a decision quickly.
Yeah.
And they trust their gut. And in business, so many people question what the gut says.
Yeah, that intuition.
And they start overanalyzing, right?
Yep.
And then it usually leads in a really negative direction. I've done it, you know, and I've been reminded, wow, you know, trust the gut, because your gut knows. It's telling you something. And if something's not right and your gut's telling you that, you need to stop and listen.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
I think that's what we need to remember, almost in particular about this session, is there is an intuition to be an entrepreneur and being a business person that almost always is either pushed to the side or we become paralyzed because we start trying to become analytical about it. But the reality is an entrepreneur has to follow this gut and has to follow his intuition. And I think most people will find when they do, it'll work out well, or it'll work out better.
Right.
So it's an incredible point for people to remember.
It is.
I appreciate you being with us. I think that we're going to do another segment down the road a little bit, but we're going to be talking about practical business consulting, which is your company and the name of your company. But we really want to know how to do that. Like, how do you go into your business and make it work? Because a lot of people are telling us high-minded things and high-minded laurels, but there are some characteristics and pillars to people doing it well.
Yes.
So, Jason, thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right.